because the guy that walked into that audition for Joel almost walked out because I was afraid. Because I looked at the description, and so many of you guys have had this book today. If you look at that, the original character art for Joel, I walked into that audition room and I saw that guy from that page in every seat, waiting to give their chance to show them Joel. And then I looked at myself, and I often joke it's because I had these, I had the bleached blonde hair and I had these, I think I was wearing Affliction at the time. It was not a good brand. It was bad. There was a lot of rhinestones. And I remember, I didn't sign in. And that's how you know. I was like, I was here at 2:10. And I didn't sign in. I was like, I could say that I got stuck in traffic. I could say they just didn't show up. I don't have to be here. And I reached for the door, and I started to turn it this way. And the casting director goes, Troy, good, you're here. Yeah, they're waiting for you. And I walked in. And it's the soundstage where we ended up shooting all of part 1. And there's a long walk, and on the far end is this table. And behind it sat Neil and Bruce, and I think Josh Jer, or maybe Ryan, and Gordon Hunt. And I see, have you guys heard me tell this story before? Fantastic. I love telling this story. I see this girl pacing back and forth, very frenetic. It's just doing this. And I was like, hi guys, hold on just a second. And I walk over, and I was like, are you okay? And she stops and she looks at me like deer in headlights. She's like, ah! And I was like, can I give you a hug? And she goes, yes! And you know that kind of like laugh cry that you do, that your body's not just throwing out emotions because they're not sure what to do? So I gave her a hug. I was like, okay. And I was like, guys, how can I be of service? And they said, well, let's just kind of see what you have prepared. And we went through this scene. And I didn't know this, but at the time, Neil scratched my name out. And then Gordon stands up. He was like, I want to go one more time. He's just this gentle, wizened mage director. And he goes, there's some D&D players up in here, what's up? And he goes, I want to, maybe it's, and I can't even remember the note that he gave me. But he just shook it up for me a little bit. He goes, let me see what you do with that. So we went for it again. And that was it. I said, thank you very much, Troy. I was like, thank you, nice to meet you. And I walked out. And I later found out that Neil circled my name. This close. This close. Because of fear. Not that I wasn't talented enough, that I couldn't do the job, and there's anybody else that could have walked into the room that looked like Joel and probably nailed it and done an amazing job. And I know some of the people that were up for that role too, and they would have crushed. Which time, my friend?
I get it.
Because when we were first talking about it in an abstraction while we were filming part 1, it sounded like a great idea. And then we wrap on 1 and we have no idea if we're gonna do part 2, and I wonder. And then they do Left Behind, and so it's probably about 1.5 years, 2 years. We're in London, and Neil and I are sitting outside of a bar. It's late. That's after the BAFTAs. Last of Us, or Left Behind, is just swept. And he's standing outside, and Neil does this thing. He rocks on the outside of his feet. And it always means that he's thinking. Or sometimes he's nervous to say what he's about to say. And he goes, and he'll look at you this way. It's kind of like a De Niro look. And he goes, so I think I have an idea for part 2. It's like, we've been together all night. Bury the lead. What do you got? He goes, so, spoiler. So Joel dies. And he leaves with that. I go, and it went from hypothetical to probable. And I instantly felt myself go, no. And I listened to the story. I was like, cool. I mean, we'll workshop some of those ideas, especially the first one. But it's like, yeah. At the very, very end, very end, that's when you should do it. And then there are a lot. And then about a year later, he calls me, he goes, hey man, you wanna come by, have dinner? I'd like to walk you through the story. He's like, I think it's there. He goes, okay. So I show up and I've got like a legal pad and I'm a very dutiful student who's like, so please, I may have notes for you, but go on, continue. And he starts walking me through. And he hits that part, that scene. And to his credit, and you should know that very little changed from the story that he walked me through to the game that came out. Very, very little. And he gets to that point, and I said, just hold on a second. And I cried. Because for Neil, he was going, okay, so this happens, and he's told this story now to Sony, he's told it to the team at Naughty Dog, he's told it to his friends, he's told it to everybody that he's had to tell it to, and he's telling it to me, but to me, he's telling me how a friend of mine died. And I cried, and I rejected it. It was just, and the reason why I rejected it so hard was because I knew that it was right. But it was so hard to hear. So then we make the game. We shoot that scene, and I pushed against it. And it's one of the rare, Neil and I have had 3 big fights, and one of them was about some of the scenes. And I pushed back on it, and he was so patient with me. And he let me process it the way that I wanted to process it. I ultimately realized that I was holding on to it too tight, and I wasn't letting it be what it needed to be. I was trying to hold on to what I thought it should be, what I wanted it to be. So we shoot the scene, and then we're right at the finish line. Right there. And because of COVID, we would have probably released sooner, I don't know. I'm not gonna get in the weeds of that, but the game got, pushed back, as you all know.
Yeah.
We're right there. And then someone decides to put it out on the web.
Yeah.
And I got so angry because people worked so hard, and we worked so hard to protect everything about the story. It's all we wanted to do. When we revealed it at PSX, we had Ashley and I arrive separately, and we snuck her in the back. As you can see me there, it's like garden variety. Of course Troy's there for something for Sony, but if Ashley shows up, flags are going off. Everybody knew the jig would be up. So they snuck her in under a hoodie, through the back and everything, and hid her there. She couldn't even come down from her hotel room until it was time, until we were walking down the aisle when they were showing the trailer. So protective of the story. And then it got out, and then it's out of context. And I remember all those, in my backyard, and Neil says, before the game comes out, he says, I'm gonna ask you, do you think we made the right choice? And I said, I don't know, Neil. I haven't played it yet. And I realized that even in my position of making the scene, shooting it, being the guy they're talking about, I don't know, man. I haven't played it yet. But, and I played it. And I spent 2 weeks in my studio on my couch, playing about 2 to 3 hours every night, and I got to that scene. And I lost it. I was gonna stream it. And I decided not to. Not because I was afraid of people seeing me cry. People see, I don't care, just see me cry. It's just at that moment, for me playing it the first time, didn't belong to anybody else but me. And I hope you can understand that. But I cried. And I was gonna put it away that night and be like, I'm done. And I was like, I can't. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I can't finish there. So I decided to play just a little bit more. And then you get to after. And I cried again. And I texted Neil and I said, the house is the funeral and the wake. And that's when I was okay with it. But it took me a long time. time. So if you're struggling with it, I get it. I was there too. But at some point I had to let go of the Joel that I wanted and allow him to be the Joel that he is, and the Joel that the story needed him to be. And I just invite all of you guys to do the same thing, not just with part 2, but also with the HBO show. I hope they do something different. Otherwise, why are they doing that? We've already done the game. I don't want to see a shot-for-shot remake as a live-action thing. I want to see something different. I want to see interpretation of characters. I'm so excited. This is not bulletin points from PR. I am genuinely excited to see what Pedro does with the HBO show. Genuinely excited. He's vicious as an actor. He works from such a visceral, guttural place. I can't wait to see what I learned from him. No, Hideo wants you to lick his face. And I'm looking at Norman and he goes, fuck it, man, let's get weird. Strawberries, he tastes like strawberries. Exactly like freshly picked strawberries. But it was, here's the testament to Hideo's genius. We walk into a room and I see a soundstage with mocap cameras, and I see all the gear and the computers and the equipment, and I see a gridded off floor with tape, and I see gray box props and sets, and I see me looking fabulous in a mocap suit.